Our fifth inventor is Mary Anderson, the inventor of the windshield wiper. It would be more than enough to come up with such a concept, but she did it in 1902, before the automobile was at all commonplace. Yet the first American automobile was probably the one from 1893, but there had been streetcars in New York City since 1832. It was this mode of transportation that triggered Mary Anderson's flash of genius. As the story goes, it was wintertime, and Mary from Alabama noticed that the trolley driver of the car she was riding in was required to leave the side window open to prevent frosting, and to periodically go outside the vehicle to clean off the sleet and snow. Mary apparently made sketches of a design for a windshield wiper and then returned to Alabama to refine her idea, envisioned it for trolleys, electric vehicles, and motor cars in general. Furthermore, she had a local company make one of the devices and filed a patent on June 18, 1903. It was issued on November 10, 1903, U.S. 743801. This was not an automatic windshield wiper, since such was not invented until 1917 by another woman. That inventor's name was Charlotte Bridgewood, and her patent was entitled Electric Storm Windshield Cleaner. Interestingly, Bridgewood's daughter, Florence Lawrence, invented the turn signal, so we can thank three women for everyday items used on automobiles. Nevertheless, in Anderson's invention, she created an internal lever that could be used to move a wooden rubber-lined squeegee blade outside. However, she included a spring that kept the wiper against the window and a weight that counterbalanced the arm. Mary Anderson was born on the Burton Hill Plantation in Greene County, Alabama, on February 19, 1866. Her full name was Annie Mary Anderson, and her older sister was Frances Fanny A. Anderson. Of course, with the close sound of the two girls' names, Annie and Fanny, it is hardly a wonder that Mary was the name preferred. Their parents were James Alexander Anderson and Rebecca Payne McLemore, and Mary's father was born December 20, 1828. He died February 5, 1870, when Mary was just 4 years old. Mary's mother was born April 29, 1834, and her parents were Joel Thaddeus McLemore and Anne Frances Burt. This is probably where Mary's first name came from. Mary's mom died in 1924. Throughout much of Mary's life, she was a caregiver, a real estate developer, a rancher, and an inventor. In 1899, at 23 years of age, she moved with her mother and a sister to Birmingham, where she and her mother built the Fairmont Apartments on the corner of Highland Avenue at 1211 24th Street South. She managed this real estate until she died, though she later had the help of her brother-in-law, husband of her sister Fanny, George P. Thornton. Fanny married him on July 8, 1891, and they all lived at the Fairmont Apartments. In 1893, Mary moved to Fresno, California, where she established or at least managed a cattle ranch and also a vineyard. Fanny moved to California as well, and in 1895, she and Mary bought 120 acres that was apparently called Edgefield Villa. They held this property at least until 1907. However, a deed in the Fresno Hall of Records shows that the property was sold on April 8, 1908. They had purchased the property for $3,000, but sold it for $10. Hence, the California venture was apparently not a monetary success. In September of 2016, I positioned myself as close as possible to Mary's former property, now where the South Dickinson Avenue becomes South McMullen Grade in southwest Fresno. There was an irrigation canal along the southern edge of the property, but the old ranch and possibly vineyard was about 1 mile east from where I stood at just before the no trespassing sign. The next two photos show where Edgefield Villa was probably located. However, it was in 1898 that an elderly Birmingham, Alabama aunt needed Mary's care, so Anderson returned to provide it. Fanny eventually returned as well, but the timing is not certain. The aunt supposedly had 17 trunks, which Mary was never supposed to open, but when the aunt died, they were found to contain boxes of gold and silver. These were sold, and this put the family on a firm financial foundation for the rest of Mary's life. In 1902, Mary made that fabled trip to New York City, though why she did it in winter is unknown. Nevertheless, she was unable to sell her windshield wiper idea. In 1905, she approached a well-known Canadian firm, offering them the rights to her invention. The Canadian company indicated, "We do not consider it to be of such commercial value as would warrant our undertaking its sale." Unfortunately, the patent was due to elapse in 1920, and Mary had neither the interest nor the financial incentive to further develop her ideas. Hence, she let what she had created just go into the public domain, and eventually all automobiles had windshield wipers. However, they were optional at first, and the first automobiles didn't even have windows. Yet Mary never received any money for her invention. Neither did Charlotte Bridgewood for her creation of the automatic windshield wiper. Mary continued her management responsibilities at the apartments until she died in 1953 at age 87. Her death certificate indicates that she had a stroke due to unclassified hypertension and atherosclerosis. She was the oldest member of Birmingham's South Highland Presbyterian Church. There are not many photos of Mary Anderson, just as the facts of her life are few and far between. However, here is a low-resolution image showing her as a relatively young woman. Sarah Scott Wingo, a relation of Mary and priest in charge of Birmingham's St. Mark's Episcopal Church, said of Anderson, "She was a vivacious, progressive woman." Wingo also indicated that Mary was a developer and inventor who was self-supporting throughout her life and later cared for her niece's children. Unfortunately, Mary Anderson's inventive genius remained unknown to most and was only rediscovered in the last few years. Hence, it can only be imagined what further inventions she might have conceived if the opportunities had been right, and or her first invention had been well received. Nevertheless, this history is a common aspect of inventors' lives, though it is indeed quite sad.